Have you ever felt like everyone around you or online is way ahead of you? Whether it's the cars, vacations, careers, crazy gaming setups, it feels like everyone is thriving and you're just like, how do they afford all this stuff? Fortunately, you are not alone, and here are 5 reasons why it feels like everyone seems to have more money than you. The first reason is that you may be comparing yourself with people above you on the leaderboard. For example, I play a game called Valorant, which is a competitive first-person shooter. Last season, I reached the highest rank I've ever been, and it felt awesome. But then I saw some friends and other streamers who are a much higher rank than I was. The problem with comparing yourself to those who seem better off is it can lead to stress, dissatisfaction, and risky financial behaviors. I used a video game as an example, but this applies to everyday spending habits and lifestyle choices. You see someone driving the latest model car compared to yours, and that engine of a brain of yours starts spinning, thinking of ways to catch up. Instead, let's compare ourselves to our past selves. For example, if you're saving more money now compared to last year, that's progress, and we need to celebrate that. If you haven't made progress, that's also okay, because now we have the data to take action on. This small shift can help you appreciate your progress. Another solution is to define what success means for you. Let's say someone online, maybe within your friend group or age, is making more money than you. Instead of blindly trying to compare their income, figure out the lifestyle you want and set an income goal that aligns with that. Lastly, before you compare yourself with someone who's ahead, understand that you might only be seeing the outputs and none of their inputs. For example, they might be fighting the final boss because they spent all this time playing the game, leveling up, dying a bunch of times, and repeating. In other words, you don't see what they did to get to where they are. So don't fight the final boss when you haven't even played the tutorial. Also, comment below, are you on team tutorial or team skip the tutorial? I always play the tutorial because I don't want to be that friend that's like, how do you guys jump again? Don't be that person. Play the tutorial. Now, one thing we all know for a fact is that these feelings are almost always, as gamers we say, buffed by social media comparisons, which is the next reason why you might feel behind. You wake up in the morning, you pull out your phone, start scrolling, and what do you see? People posting pictures of their vacations in Bali with those like bungalow things on the water, bougie dinners. Then you think to yourself, how the fuck are they able to afford this when I can't even afford a weekend getaway staying in a motel? Or you see someone's insane gaming PC setup and now you don't even want to get out of bed because your PC can't even run solitaire. Now, social media isn't all bad. It can be great, not just for entertainment, but education. For example, many of these platforms have become the main source of financial education for younger generations, with 40% of Gen Z and 36% of millennials relying on it for financial education. Can't even begin to tell you how much I've learned about finance and investing from social media. This accessibility comes with a significant downside. It promotes unrealistic comparisons and creates this illusion that everyone is doing awesome financially. We need to understand that most people aren't going to show their struggles, only their rewards. You think most people are going to be inclined to share that they lost thousands of dollars on day trading cryptocurrencies? No, because they're ashamed. The reality is social media is mostly a highlight reel or a game where everyone's showing off their high scores with money, cars, jobs, etc. Even though these achievements might be bought with in-game currency, debt, or boosted by cheats, privilege, which we'll talk about more a bit later. So constant exposure to these highlight reels can push people to make stupid decisions in order to keep up or fit in. One solution is curating your following so your feed teaches, inspires, and makes you laugh. For example, follow accounts that help you get financially lit instead of financially wrecked. That was a little hint to subscribe so you can learn how to be a rich nerd. Another solid solution is limiting screen time. People spend an average of 17 hours per week watching videos online. That's time that could be better spent on learning and having fun with friends. All of my social media apps on my phone are set up so they're disabled after 10 minutes of use. Guys, this is the meta. Please set it up. It's super easy. The last thing I recommend is doom scrolling as soon as you wake up. This is going to deplete your dopamine reserves and make you feel like shit the rest of the day. Wait at least 1 hour before pulling your phone out. Speaking of feeling like shit, the next reason why it feels like everyone has more money than you is because they're hacking. And for my non-gamer friends, I'm talking about debt. So in this game Valorant I play, you can buy skins for the weapons you use. It doesn't give you a tactical advantage, though some will argue otherwise. It's purely cosmetic. For example, this is a $50 skin I bought for a knife. Yeah, these companies make a lot of money from these skins. The scary thing is, people get addicted to buying them, and if they don't have the cash, well, there's always credit cards. According to LendingTree, Americans have over $1.2 trillion in collective credit card debt. My lovely editor will show you how many zeros that is. Now, video game cosmetics aren't the only thing people are going into debt for. Cars are much more common at over $1.6 trillion worth of debt in the US, and that's not even the worst part. The average monthly payment for a new car is $742. Meanwhile, the median income is only $57,000 per year. Including insurance, fuel, registration, maintenance, and repairs, that's easily $1,200, which would be over 25% of the median salary. The rule of thumb is 10% or less. So next time you're doom scrolling on social media and you see people with all these nice things, there's a high probability that they went into debt for them. Pretty crazy, right? Oftentimes, debt is what fuels the illusion of wealth. And as we mentioned in the last section, people aren't going to post about how they're struggling with their car payments or the credit card debt they racked up from their trip to Bali. The reality is this behavior is not only stressful, but will wreck your financial health. So the next time you're scrolling and you feel financially behind, remember, there's a good chance that they're the ones behind because of the debt they acquired. Understanding the true cost of debt is also invaluable here. For example, if you finance a $60,000 car with a 7% interest rate over 6 years, you'll pay an extra $12,000 on top of the total cost of the car. And to prove to you how real this problem is, my buddy Derek, who works in car sales, recently told me about the situation in his area, where most of the people are buried in debt with credit scores under 700, down payments of less than $5,000, and car trade-ins that have negative equity. This means the value of the car is worth less than the money they owe on it. Similarly, if you only make $150 payments to a $5,000 credit card balance, it'll take you years to pay it off, costing you an extra $2,500 in interest. It's more important than ever to avoid or properly use debt. If you can't afford to make a purchase with cash, don't use a credit card. Always have auto pay set up so your card gets paid off in full every month. And if you have to borrow money to buy a car, which you should avoid, make a 20% down payment. More is better. Less than a 4-year loan, less is better. And your car payment, insurance, fuel, maintenance should be less than 10% of your monthly income. Less is obviously better. Now, the fourth reason why you might feel financially behind is because your mindset needs some heals. Growing up, I used to associate success with nice cars, houses, designer clothes, and even prestigious careers. For that reason, I chased and got a lot of it. I bought nice cars, lived in fancy parts of towns, and worked at a big tech company. However, every new thing I bought or salary increase I received just didn't really hit as hard. It's like I built up a tolerance for it and needed even more to get that same high. It turns out most people, including myself, fall for this common trap. Most people chase these misleading societal definitions of success when success is subjective. Most people don't consider whether these things align with their values and long-term happiness. And this misalignment can end with stress, debt, and a sense of never having enough, just like me, and despite having a high income. The solution is to understand that things or materialism aren't good sources of sustained happiness. Psychologists across the board say that experiences are a much more reliable source of long-term happiness. Now, it's not to say that you don't need money. You do. However, the best thing that money buys is freedom, not things. In other words, the ability to control your life. Now, on this channel, I'm a broken record about this, but I highly recommend you read the book called Psychology of Money. It'll change your life. The last and more obvious reason you might feel behind is some people are just better at the game. In other words, they simply make more money than you, and that is okay. For example, did you know that Bill Gates just so happened to attend the only high school in America that had a computer? Really think about how significant that is. Imagine if that weren't the case. Would we still have Microsoft? I don't know for sure, but I'm leaning towards no. However, if Bill Gates wasn't smart or curious, spending hours and hours playing with that computer after school, do you think Microsoft would exist? The problem is life has this random number generator in effect, kind of like playing an RPG where enemies drop loot. Some people, they're gonna randomly get the good gear right away, while others will play for years and years and won't find jack shit. In other words, factors like inheritance, upbringing, education, opportunities, and systemic inequalities act as a sort of random number generator. Some people start with significant advantages that make it easier for them to build wealth or achieve success. And it sucks. As a result, it's easy to lose hope and feel discouraged. But there are solutions. First and foremost, you have to focus on you. What do you want out of life? Who gives a shit about what other people are doing? I used to feel left out when I see people traveling, Then after I traveled a bit, I realized I don't really like traveling that much. So I felt left out for no reason. Next, let's focus on controllables. Luck, nepotism, trust funds, how you were raised. These are things that are out of our control. How we spend our time, the skills we learn, the way we manage our money, the job offers we negotiate, and relationships we choose to build or end are things that we can control and should control. The last thing I'll say, and I think this comes with age, is to enjoy the small things. My peak happiness is eating dinner with my wife and watching anime. And then afterwards, we'll play some video games. I know some people are going to be like, bro is 35 years old and still watches anime. Fuck you. I don't care. I don't care. This is what I'm doing with my life. The more you adopt this mindset, the more you know? So keep these things in mind the next time you feel like everyone has more money than you. Subscribe to learn how to be a rich nerd, then have some fun and watch this video where I answer your money questions while playing Marvel Rivals.